Hey, this is Ben. This is the 21st stanza of The Art of Peace. 21 out of 114. So what's that make? 90 some days to go? Anyway, let's begin. I'm tired. I know I feel tired because of the sensations that make up the idea of being tired. The idea includes the story and all this other kind of stuff, but the experience of being tired shows up in the body, not just an idea. So for me right now, it's showing up in my feet, especially my left foot. My left foot just feels active. It's going like my 2-year-old does this. She will when she's tired. It's just her whole little body is just that's the way my foot feels. It's got this kind of quality to it that's not all the time, but it's more often than not, and I feel the relief when I take pressure off of my foot. I feel a relief, which includes a sense of when I walk again, I'm going to feel that again. So anyway, I feel that there. It's some in my right foot, not as pronounced. In my pelvis, there's a whole lot going on. There's a little bit of sensation on the right side of my spine, lumbar. Just kind of a just like that. There's just kind of the feeling of slow, like sludgy feeling in my shoulder blades. It's just kind of like it's not pain, it's not sensation as much as it is kind of like a rhythm of motion. It feels like the way a slug moves, sluggish. The quality of the sensation is sluggish. It's just kind of this, and I want to do the opposite of it. I want to reach out, open up, send out, move forward, just express. And the feeling there is just like pressing, opening and pressing. Heat. It feels like in the back of my throat feels hot, kind of sour, kind of like the way in Fort Benning, Georgia, the afternoon, the whole day just went, and it showed up in these big thunderstorms, just like the pressure of the heat created the environment where the Mother Earth, Fort Benning, needed to like clear some stuff out and rip big cracks in the sky. So it's just a huge downpour. Everything would just get pushed out, washed away. Big thunderstorm would fly through. We would get a little break. We would often be shining our boots. It was such a nice time. It was such a meditation. Shining our boots. And so it's just kind of an acknowledgement of the extremes of the day and just a conscious time to chill. Now, just being in that space in my head, being in that experience in my head, I feel better. I feel energized. The sluggish sensation is not as present. The sensation of feeling energized is more prominent than the sensation in my left ankle. The sensation in my left ankle is not gone. It's just there's an aspect of the rest of my body that just feels more robust. And it's not that I'm ignoring what's going on in my foot. It's like what's going on in my foot is more interested in what's going on elsewhere. And it's calm. It's like my daughter. I put her in front of a toy that she's curious about. Or the iPad. Or her Play-Doh. Put her in front of those things, and whatever was is replaced. Doesn't mean she still needs to go to bed. She still needs to get her nap. But in the meantime, there's a way to bolster her other resources. So I bolstered my other resources. I feel more alert, a little bit more engaged, a little bit more focused. There's less of a sunkenness. And I'm going to capitalize on that by going through my feet, my pelvis. Now, I'm sitting on wet ground. Even though I got multiple layers, I've got this little mat that I use. It breaks down real small, but I got these multiple layers. And I still feel the wetness, the dampness, swamp-assness. It's not swamp-ass, but, it's the prerequisite. Like, if you sat on a wet spot. It's got that feeling a little bit. Then I come into my core. The core still has a sensation on the right side of the spine. It's still there, but again, it's just not the dominant experience. The more dominant experience is the internal environment, the upness that I'm feeling kind of through my shoulder blades. There's a bounce to them, like a readiness in my arms that wasn't present before. That readiness is a pace. It's the way this stream is running in front of me. This stream is typically lower than what it is now. There's typically less water moving through it, but because so much rain yesterday, it's taking all that rain and it's moving it on down to the Potomac. So anyway, there's a increased pace, an increased rhythm of the water, and it has a sound too. It's got a sound quality. So it's not a particular sensation. You could think of it as a wave as opposed to a particle. A wave as opposed to a particle. A particle can, in the body, a sensation representative of a particle is like a pinprick. Optimism running through the body is like a wave. Now they influence each other and they're interconnected, so it's never not there. We're just breaking these things down by virtue of language and explanation and sharing the practice. So now I come to my throat. My throat, I feel my mouth and my throat and my collarbones and the tops of my shoulder blades. Drop my chin and I feel the back of my throat, the outside of my throat. Now I can go to the inside of my throat with a swallow. I want to clean out my mouth with my tongue and be systematic about it. I'm going to go up and down my cheek, top teeth, bottom teeth, left side. Just kind of clean it out. Circle the gums one way. Circle the gums the other way. Now, whatever speed you're moving your tongue in, cut it in half. See if you can notice as your tongue's moving, the part of your tongue that's touching your outside lips or cheeks and your gums. See if you can distinguish that sensation. And see if you can distinguish the leftover sensation from where your tongue just was. Neat, right? That's what happens. You can fall into these experiences anytime you want. Always available. So that's why I think in my throat space, mouth feels clean. Top of my head. Now I'm either going here to lengthen my spine. Like your head is like a snake's head. Everything that the head does in a snake is connected to every other part of the snake. So it's not like the head moves independent of anything else. If the head's moving and the rest of part of the other parts of the snake aren't moving, it's not that they're not moving. It's just that their position is grounding. They're enabling the movement, not the moving. And then at any given time, the whole thing can move, just like your whole spine can move. So your spine can articulate your head, or your whole spine can be articulated. Whenever your spine isn't moving, it's also grounding. So there's never not the spine. It's always the spine. Everything has to do with the spine. Now, full breath in. Come to the top of the breath here. I can feel how my hips are tucked under a little bit. That's why lots of meditation cushions have just kind of the elevation at the pelvis. So I undid that. Tried to balance my pelvic bowl a little bit. Bowl of popcorn. Nice. Now the sensation to the right of my spine shifted a little bit, so worth notice. There's an unsustainable element in my thighs, kind of a pulling. Breath feels bigger, more balanced when I do this. This just signals some holding in different parts of the body. Neither doesn't necessarily need attention, other than you could use it as a place to tame the mind, interact with an edge, but just an awareness, more or less. It's just showing up on the radar the same way a mountain range would show up on the radar. It's like, there it is. Okay, just make sure to keep that in mind. Now, just where's my head at? Where's my mind at? My mind has been bouncing around this morning, from responsibilities to what to do when, prioritizing this and that. There's so much to do. And then I watched the debate. I read about the debate a little bit and saw different ideas being presented. I thought about being at the War College and how much I like saying that, War College. And so there's just lots of places to put my attention, my mental attention. And I'm excited about what I'm putting my attention on. So it's almost like, my body, whatever it's doing, just kind of goes, ooh, what's going on over there? And the complaining or the whining or the fatigue kind of goes, ooh, what's that? What's up? What's up with that? And so my mind kind of is like, come on, I'll show you. And so my mind will imagine extensions and new product line at Armored Down, or a new relationship with a volunteer or a contributor, a new business plan idea, new information will show up. It's just like, ooh. And so everything kind of zooms in with curiosity and excitement. And it makes me come alive. There's just this, the whole body says, hey, this is great. Let's keep this going. So I can imagine hormones being dumped into my body. This is great. This is great. I can imagine the amygdala falling offline, being like, there's no threat here. I can imagine the limbic system, which includes the amygdala, but the limbic system, which connects me to others and to the outside world, I can imagine that being like, environment's good, I mean, everything's moving forward. And then I can imagine my neocortex going, all right, everything looks good from here down. I think we can move into flow state. Everybody shift to flow state, and boom, come into the moment. So, take you backwards a minute. Last night, I was very, very, very fatigued, and I felt my body, calling out for me to nurture it. And I still had one thing to do. I had one thing left to do. So I started participating and imagining this new environment, this environment coming up, and how I was going to most authentically represent what I wanted or what I hoped to achieve. And as I went into that space, all of a sudden the fatigue kind of went, oh, wait a minute, okay, we can chill. Now, don't forget about us. Remember, you need to take good care of us. But we can chill, and all the attention went to what I was preparing for, honing my authenticity. And it was energizing. I remember being very fatigued, and then as I went through the practice, I remember feeling, very energized. And that's how fast this kind of stuff works. And so it was just an immersion. There was just immersion. It was like going downhill, being immersed into the environment. And what has happened for me now is that when I become immersed in an environment, I can basically stay in that environment and interact with it at subtle and extreme levels with ease. We all have this. It's just a matter of how often we have it. Now, here's the deal. What interferes with this space, what interferes with this kind of flow and immersion is the ego. That's just one word for it. We, at Armor Down, Mindful Personal Training, we call it idea awareness. So idea awareness is hierarchical, dualistic, analytic. Idea is symbols, language, understandings of the past, projections into the future. It's absolutely essential part of awareness. Now, experience awareness is the immersion. Experience awareness is the immersion. Now, the goal is not one or the other. The goal is simply interacting with the mystery of life, moving in between the experiences of your life with presence, friendly curiosity. And in those environments, you might need your idea awareness. And then you might come out of your idea awareness into your experience or flow. Either way, the practice is back and forth. You're not either. You are the awareness of both. But back to my point, what interferes with being in this space and being inside this kind of flow or this rhythm? And it's the ego, the expressiveness of the idea awareness. And one way it's very expressive, is in the form of comparison and competition. Comparison and competition are essential, but they can run amok. And when comparison and contrast run amok, and the idea experience begins to dominate, begins to pull one out of flow, out of presence, when that takes shape, it creates limiting beliefs. It creates ideas about the way things are, that are unbelievably real for you, but not necessarily truth. So when idea awareness runs amok, or environments facilitate the creation of ideas about the future that are absolutely true for you, but not necessarily true, the body, as always, is lockstep. So even though experience is flow, experience can create the sensation of ideas that are super, super true for you, but may not necessarily be true as sensation. And those sensations are big and powerful, as well they should be. Our biology. If there was no sensation associated with seeing a threat in the wild to protect yourself, that'd be a poor evolutionary tool. It wouldn't last. But because the body responds quickly, fight or flight, freeze, it's helped us out. Now, fundamental beliefs, limiting beliefs. Fundamental belief is we're connected to everyone. A limiting belief is I am worthless compared to everyone else. I am worthless compared to everyone else starts with the comparison. So you move away from I am connected to everyone else. You move from that truth into a self experience of I am worse than everyone. And in that process, sensation's created. You're creating a sensation in relation to that idea. That idea triggers a sensation, the sensation triggers the idea. They sustain themselves. Just like I'm able to sustain inside my internal environment a mindset and a body set that begin to come together, the same can be created in a way that is more sluggish and nasty. An idea that may make sense is the idea of shame. Shame can physically feel like sludge. Like if you were walking through sludge, kind of this sucking, and if you look forward and all you see before you is sludge, not only does the experience of walking in sludge feel sludgy, the notion that you've got to continue walking in sludge is just devastating to the part of your brain called the dorsolateral neocortex. I finally got that right. Dorsolateral neocortex. It's the part of the brain that recognizes time, past, future. So if it's fucked and set on future, and all you feel is fucked, then all you can perceive inside that moment from the idea is a future of fucked, a present of fucked, and that's despair. Now do this enough, and your body will recognize the pattern, your idea will recognize the pattern, and your awareness will be set on this pattern. It will keep coming back to this pattern. It will stay on this pattern because you are being pulled by it. You are unaware of what's happening, but you are inside of the idea, and then you're inside the nasty experience, and you're always, always, always thinking that this is just the way it is. It's just the way it's always going to be. And stuck. Mired. So getting out of that requires first being aware of it and then interacting with the sensational experience in the present moment. As you interact with the present moment, you tame the mind with what's going on right around you. Introception, the ability to interact with what's known. So you know that's going on. So, say you have this terrible shame about what you did in the past. And this projects this feeling into the future. Terrible past, it's always going to be this way. And it feels like that in your body. There's no reason for you not to feel this way. You feel this, you feel it in your heart, you feel it in your chest, you feel it in your guts, you feel it everywhere. This is real, motherfucker. So the first thing you do to tame your mind is come into what's going on right now, and you can be assured, you can make the choice of putting your awareness on sight, sound, taste, touch, smell. So you know that. You're like, okay, so my limiting belief may exist, and I feel it everywhere, but at least let me look at what's going on. Is it happening right now? And all that noise in the body. Instead of, it's, you're pathetic, you suck, you're just despicable. I mean, gosh, if my kid ever came at me like that, I would, oh boy, can you imagine? As opposed to, I don't even want to do it again. It's just such a, but imagine if that's your internal environment, right? So, okay, so that's going on in the body. So your first step is to tame that, and you say, okay, but hey, check this out. Just like with Allegra, my kid, you just, hey, look at this, and all of a sudden the goes, and then if I can generate friendly curiosity that, while still needing to be acknowledged and dealt with, will shift. So shift into, what's that? That's presence, and then moving in. What's that? And then you want to align your body, because remember, but the body's always interacting with the mind, mind's always interacting with the body. Interacting with alignment aligns the body's efficiencies. Your body's efficiencies show up in the most sustainable way through a comfortable, aligned spine. So once you've done that, comfortable, aligned spine, you're in your best opportunity to notice if you've been able to create any shifting. If you started to create some shifting, then that means you've made some space. You've begun to see that you're the choice of what's going on, as opposed to the history of what's going on or the projected future of what's going on. And the biology of this is you've actually tamed the hard wiring of your brain, those pieces that dictate certain processing capabilities. You've tamed those processing capabilities. And so now new processing capabilities have opened up. So the opposite of, say, shame or self-loathing or hatred of others or separation of others is loving-kindness meditation. And there's lots of language out there, and there's lots of historical language out there that really, really, really embodies the idea of loving-kindness. Just the word loving and then kindness. Loving kindness. Just say those words in different ways. So, loving kindness, or just loving kindness. And you could even, as you're saying it, loving kindness, you could picture something little. So like loving kindness, that little bird over there, loving kindness, the wings and the way the bird, is just going about doing its thing. Now it's interesting, as I'm talking about this, there's another part of me, like in the deep recesses of my brain, that's thinking about killing that bird, ripping the a yellow bird with a yellow bill sitting on the windowsill. I picked it up, started to twerp. Then I ripped off its wings. I ripped them off. He ripped them off, and little bird. It's a terrible, terrible cadence, all about killing. So anyway, so you can see the warrior's like, wait a minute, a little bird with a yellow bill is sitting on my windowsill. I ripped it up or some shit. So, I'm starting my loving kindness meditation, and immediately violence and destruction comes barreling in. Hey, but we also da-da-da-da. Anyway, you can see that. Now here's the tricky part. Can you see that with loving kindness? That's tricky. Anyway, I see that with loving kindness. It kind of makes me smile. I feel it in my body. I feel it in my heart. I see who I was. I see the warrior. I still have that. I'm still as vicious as I ever could be. It's just piece of the experience, not the whole thing. Anyway, I feel connected. I go back to loving kindness towards others, loving kindness towards Republican presidential candidates, loving kindness towards people on death row, loving kindness towards ISIS. Ugh, is that? No, can't. No, you can't have loving unkindness towards ISIS. That would make you weak. But is that true? Haha. In all warrior art forms, never underestimating your enemy is strongly cautioned against. So, in a sense, loving kindness creates an actually more effective environment for killing terrorists. So if you have loving kindness towards terrorists, I mean even the really, really bad ones, and that means your analysis of terrorism in general and any terrorists you interact with will not be limited to hate. And if it's not limited to hate and you're more open to what's going on, your capacity to make decisions on how best to eradicate terrorism will be enhanced. It was not that you have loving kindness for terrorists because you want to be happy and hoppy and yay. It's that you don't want your focus, your potential for inspiration, your wisdom when dealing with terrorism and all that embodies terrorism and hatred and separation. You don't want that to be curtailed in any way. You don't want to go into a firefight with one bullet because that's the only bullet you know how to fire. So loving kindness, seeing that connection, seeing the rage inside the terrorist that maybe you yourself have felt, loving the rage inside yourself and loving the rage inside of others as part of the experience lends itself to the ability to see that as an option but not get pulled into it. It becomes a piece of the spectrum, not the entire spectrum, and that creates efficiency. Going back earlier to the fatigue is a piece of the spectrum but not the whole thing. Anyway, it's been a long one. It's interesting to watch how the light behind my closed eyelids has changed as the sun begins to come up. Sun coming up, that means got to go take care of the family. So let's read the last art of or the 21st Art of Peace and get out of here. All right, the 21st Art of Peace. As soon as you concern yourself with the good and bad of your fellows, you create an opening in your heart for maliciousness to enter. Testing, competing with, and criticizing others weakens and defeat you. Weaken and defeat you. As soon as you concern yourself with the good and bad of your fellows, you create an opening in your heart for maliciousness to enter. Testing, competing with, and criticizing others weaken and defeat you. All right. King, out.